The Atlanta Braves don't get swept thanks to the first home run of the season from the shortstop position. Welcome to Atlanta, Ha-Seong Kim. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That is Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Follow him on social media at Shortstop Ball. Make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube for all of Jake's fantastic content. But Jake, we are here to talk about a 5-1 victory by the Atlanta Braves over the Chicago Cubs in a game in which they were being no-hit for a little while. And they end up breaking it open thanks to Ha-Seong Kim's 3-run homer, the very first home run from a Brave shortstop in 2025. How mad are you going to be if we don't get the blue box tomorrow about Ha-Seong Kim signing an extension with Atlanta?
Yeah, look, Alex Anthopoulos has taken a lot of heat this year, some of it deservingly so. I think some of it from the offseason, we just don't really know how much his hands were tied. But you look at tonight's game, and it's 2 games for Ha-Seong Kim, but already you've seen him do something Nick Allen couldn't do the entire year and hit a home run. You also look at Tyler Kinley, too, another kind of shrewd move that he made this year, and a guy that might be a piece in the bullpen next season. So, look, I'm not sitting here trying to sing the praises of Alex Anthopoulos. I think he's got a big offseason coming up that's going to determine his future and the future of this team and this core as well that he's built here. But those 2, moves right there are looking pretty nice early on for Alex Anthopoulos and picking up Ha-Seong Kim and the Tyler Kinley move, 2 moves that definitely could help them for next season when they're obviously going to be looking to contend again. So great start for Ha-Seong Kim offensively to his Braves career, a big home run for him here tonight.
Yeah, and this was something where, Alex Anthopoulos told us at the trade deadline when Atlanta was quiet, they viewed this as the start of the offseason heading into 2026. And they've gone, obviously, they get Kim, they get Kinley, they've gotten Jake Fraley, who's made a couple starts for Atlanta. And so you can see now, just between the trade deadline and now, you can see how next year is a little bit clearer, right? If Kim opts in, you have a shortstop who can do some of everything. He had 107 mile an hour out yesterday. The homer, I believe, is 108 tonight. So just more providing something that Nick Allen, to your point, has not done all year. I think Nick Allen's hardest hit ball was 103. Did not have a single barrel on the year. Unfortunately, he won't have a chance to be the only qualified hitter without a barrel since 2021, I believe. I was doing some of that research today. I got to finish it up real quick. But it's just, to me, the story here was the bottom part of the lineup, right? Ozzy Albies obviously goes 2 for 4, has the solo shot, right? Does some good stuff. But it felt like Ha-Seong Kim, Eli White, Nacho Alvarez, they all come in really kind of key and valuable here. And I feel like contributions from the role players is not necessarily what's going to win or make or break your season. But in a game where Ronald Acuña Jr. continues his season worst slump, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, Matt Olson's hitless with 2 strikeouts, having those role players able to step into a start for Eli White, fill in for an injury, Nacho Alvarez, and produce like this kind of makes you feel like, okay, maybe Atlanta's depth isn't as bad as we said it was going into the year.
Look, you're going to win the majority of your games because your top guys are getting it done. That's what you're hoping for. But having the depth in a lineup where you can have your 7, 8, 9 guys win you some games throughout the year is what puts a team over the top. So it is very important to have that depth. Yes, if those 7, 8, 9 guys don't hit, you're not blaming them. Like we talked about with Orlando Arcia in the past and even Nick Allen this year. I don't blame this season or last season on either of those guys because it's the guys at the top that are really going to carry you and are going to make or break your season. But to have those guys at the bottom that can win you a game like this when those guys aren't getting it done, because that's going to happen. It is baseball. You're going to have slumps. Even Ronald Acuña Jr. is going to have slumps at time. It happens. It's baseball. But to be able to have that depth where some other guys can produce, maybe when those guys are cold at the moment or just having unlucky nights. I mean, I know people don't want to hear about the expected stats, but my word, Drake Baldwin, goodness. 3 lineouts tonight, hardest hit ball of the night, couldn't get anything to drop. And unfortunately, it came against Cade Horton. Brace couldn't do anything against him to help Drake Baldwin out, and Drake Baldwin couldn't get any luck on his side. But it's nice to have that depth in the order for guys to produce. And if you can have a Ha-Seong Kim batting, and look, Austin Riley's back. We'll see what they do in the offseason. You could have Ozzy, you could have Michael, you could have Profar hitting at the bottom of your lineup next year with everybody healthy. And it just really lengthens it and makes it that more dangerous. And it gives you games like this throughout the year where you can get wins without your top hitters being able to get it done.
Yeah. Speaking of top hitters, I want to touch on Ronald a little bit. He's, I believe he's now 0 for 21. This is the longest hitless streak of his career. And he's, I think, 1 for 27 in the last 8 games. You mentioned last night, and I feel like we saw a little bit of it in the second inning with a defensive play that maybe a pitch, like a hit, a batted ball that should have been caught. It's been a long day, everybody. I'm starting to wonder if the slump that he's in is maybe carrying over into the field. And this feels like the classic situation you hear managers talk about where they just give a guy a day or two. Jurickson Profar comes back. You've been rolling with Eli White and Jake Fraley in one of your corner outfield spots while Profar was out. Maybe you continue doing that and give Ronald a day, either a half day, just DH him, or give him a full day off. See if he can just get his kind of clear his head and start over, because this isn't Ronald Acuña Jr., but at the same time, I know you talked last night about he doesn't you can see he's frustrated, and it has to be hard to be on a tough team or on a team that's not going anywhere and trying to still give your best effort every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be for any human being. I mean, it's just, this isn't to pick on Ronald. I think that's a lot of humans when you're on a sinking ship, and it's just really, really hard. Especially when at the same time you're struggling and you're just not playing your best. It's got to be really difficult. Also really frustrating. You mentioned it last night, just missed a home run tonight, had a ball with a 970 XBA, would have been out at 2 stadiums too. So it's like you're hitting some baseballs hard and you're just not getting those results. So it adds to the frustration. But you're right. It may be, again, in a lost season, maybe you give him a day or two. And they talked about on the broadcast last night with Kyle Tucker. He was going through a similar stretch, post All-Star break. And Craig Counsell set him out for a couple of games just to get his head right and trying to just give him a break. So maybe you need to do that with Ronald and just hope that he can finish strong. I think Snit's kind of the guy. He's going to leave it up to the player and what they want to do. And most of the players on this team, they want to try to work through it on the field. But yeah, it could get to that point where you got to take it out of his hands and just maybe give him a couple of days to reset.
Yep. All right. In just a second, I want to talk about Bryce Elder because he's quietly been, I'm going to say, dominant in the last 3 starts. We'll talk about that next, right here on the Braves Postcast. Hey, Braves fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already need. Real people are getting paid to make their daily commutes, and you can too. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. So don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Now, offers vary by user and location, so go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401k, property, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Because Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you because it does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts and minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDINMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's a 50% discount on your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Okay, so Cade Horton has a no-hitter going in this game, right? I mean, he finishes 5 no-hit innings, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. And I would argue that as good as he was, Bryce Elder was right up there with him. Yes, he allowed 4 hits and 1 unearned run. No walks, 6 strikeouts in 7 innings of work. He goes deeper. And Elder's last 3 starts now combined 3 earned runs, 20 innings pitched, 15 strikeouts to 4 walks. Obviously, he's prone to blowups. He's prone to issues. We know that. You go back 4 starts ago, that was the White Sox game where he gave up 8 runs. But is it possible that he heard us saying, hey, Hurston Waldrop is the number 5 starter next year, and maybe took it a little bit personally? Because, like, last 7 starts, 2-2, 4.06 ERA, that's exactly what you're looking for from a number 5 guy. And he did that despite getting blown up by the White Sox.
You almost just wish, like you give me those numbers, 402. Yeah, that sounds like a 4th, 5th starter, what Elder is. But it's almost like it's either just completely awful or it's completely great. And if he could just mash the 2 and just have more outings where it's 5, 6 innings of 3 or 4 runs and that just be it.
The consistency.
Yeah. And just forget the blow up starts. I mean, I'll take these awesome starts, but it feels like he just gets in these stretches where, you know, he can be really good for a month even. But then it's just, you'll have a month or 2 stretch where it's just completely awful and he's not going to make it through the 5th inning. So it's frustrating. It's interesting in this one. I think Sean Murphy caught him last time and it was mostly just sinker slider. And generally I feel like when Bryce
almost exclusively, it was like 90% usage.
And I feel like mostly when Elder is good, that's what we see, is that it is just this. He's got the sinker and slider working. He's able to control them. He gets the chases. He's getting the calls on the edges. But this one, it was sinker slider he led with, but then 20 changeups and 14 or 15 4-seamers. And I've talked about the 4-seamer a lot with Bryce Elder. I think it's a pitch he needs to throw to change the eye level and get it at the top of the zone. He didn't throw one below the belt in this game. Everything was at the belt, which I don't really want it there, or higher. And if you can do that while you have that sinker diving down and into righties, the slider diving down and away to righties, it allows you to change that eye level of the hitter and give him something else to think about. And I think that can be a big thing for Bryce Elder if he can command it like he did tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to location with Bryce Elder. And I think, and we've talked about this before, his margin of error is a little bit just slimmer on the locations, on where he puts pitches, where his mistakes end up. Feels like that's kind of a thing. And I'm not necessarily there's a comment in the chat, like, you guys are saying Baldwin calls a better game than Murphy.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
We're not saying that, but there is differences in game plan and usage. And I do think that when Elder's locations are crisp and really good, getting that 4-pitch mix and being a little more unpredictable from a pitch-to-pitch basis works for him. But when he's struggling to command some stuff, I feel like that's when you pare it back to just sinker slider and you focus on ground balls versus trying to get strikeouts and things like that. So it's not a better game. It's a different game. But yeah, that's the frustrating part about Bryce Elder is he doesn't have the consistency. If things go right, he's really good. If things don't go right, he's pretty bad. And that's the frustrating part, is just be a 4 ERA guy every outing. Don't be a 1 or a 10. Like just pick a lane. Pick a lane. You touched on it earlier. Tyler Kinley comes in, looks fantastic in the 8th inning. 2 strikeouts, no hits. Raisel Iglesias comes out, does walk 2 in the 9th. Gets a little bit hairy there late, but locks this down. I know that Tyler Kinley is going to be a part of this bullpen next year. It's very obvious now. He's going to be here. They're going to pick up the option. He's going to be a valuable piece in your middle, your middle there. Is there a chance, and I know you're going to get into this more on some upcoming shows, is there a chance that Atlanta looks at what Raisel Iglesias has done in the back half of the season and says, let's use the overall stats, the 3.75 ERA, the bad stuff early to try to get a discount, but let's bring Raisel Iglesias back rather than him trying to go into a very crowded relief pitching market this year with a lot of big name guys. Let's offer him a discount to come back, stick around with Atlanta, and we don't have to do all the background work on how a guy fits into the clubhouse.
I think it's all going to be a matter of price. You can't bring him back at 16 million, but if you could bring him back at, somewhere between 8 and 12 million, my ideal would be get two guys that have closer ability for somewhere between 8 and 12 million. And you got some options to go with. And if Iggy's one of those, then fine. I've seen enough from Iggy in the second half to be comfortable with bringing him back. And you could see him at the end of the game. There's obviously something mechanical that was off. He was pointing with his shoulder that I think was leading to some of that mislocation. So I think that's all it was. But just, we don't see him walk a lot of batters. So it was very strange. Something was clearly off for him, but all that to say, I'd be fine if they brought him back, but I do think it has to be on a little bit lower value, that if he's not your closer, you're not necessarily giving him closer type money.
Yeah. It has to be something kind of a setup thing, because you could, to your point, you could take that same amount of money and you could divide it among like a Hunter Harvey and a Gregory Soto or something like that, and have multiple guys with Joe Jimenez coming back. You end up having a lot of different guys to kind of mix and match for that ninth inning there. All right. So again, Braves win this one 5-1, avert the sweep. Tomorrow they are off before a home series at home this weekend versus the Mariners. Logan Gilbert versus Chris Sale on Friday. That's going to be tons of fun. Bryce Miller, Hurston Waldrop on Saturday, and Luis Castillo versus Spencer Strider on Sunday. We'll be back to break down all three of those games. In the meantime, make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Braves, wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube. Jake's got shows coming out Thursday. Usually a mailbag on Friday. Don't want to speak for you, but I imagine we're going to have another one of those this week. So be on the lookout for the tweet. Get your questions in for Jake. Literally, you can ask him anything. He will answer this. This is your chance. Give him your craziest trade ideas that you can think of, and he will seriously evaluate them like they could actually happen.
Thanks, Lindsay.
You're welcome. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Braves Postcast.